Today's webinar is brought to you by the letters R, F, and P, because that's what we're going to talk about today. ACDI's Education Playbook will be covering many of the types of questions that are asked in RFPs. And we wanted to help you get prepared for the busy school buying season just coming right up. You know, many schools actually are in spring break right now, or maybe just about to go on spring break. And that'll bring us to the last part of the semester for school administration to start preparing for next year. RFPs, of course, very common in education as they typically need 3 or more bids for what they're wanting to accomplish. And as you know, Papercut cut its teeth in education. We're very well versed in their needs. However, RFPs can just be all over the place. Many are difficult to interpret. So we really wanted to bring together some of the most common components that schools are looking for to implement with a print management system. Casey Cobb's my wingman today. We're changing seats from the last webinar, so he'll be answering questions in the Q&A and join me in the chat later on. I'm Doc Walger, your host for this technical webinar. Here's our agenda, and yes, of course, we'll be asking a trivia question at the end of the presentation for your chance to win a cool prize from ACDI, so make sure you pay attention. Those of you live, you'll be able to ask questions at the end too. We'll have an open chat as well, so thanks for joining today. We're going to start with user management. The questions are usually targeted as to how do you get users into a system like Papercut so they have access, and most importantly, they obtain the data so they get the information they're looking for. Well, the best and easiest way to get users into a system is by using the school's directory services. Most print management is very Windows-oriented, and the only thing you have available is Active Directory or LDAP, and setting those parameters can be difficult. You know, syntax issues, I know you've gone through that. Many times it requires a few steps to get it going. You might have to set a task and all sorts of things just to get that sync done. Well, those of you that have installed Papercut, you know that's the last step of the install is to integrate with one of these services so users are brought into the system right away during the initial quick installation process. And unlike many other print management solutions, Papercut can attach to virtually any kind of service, not just the ones that I've got listed on this slide, but I know of customers using third-party login services with great success as well. So this provides flexibility when providing RFP answers. So, you know, the question could be for a school that's all Mac and they're using Open Directory. Well, you can confidently answer yes to that question, as well as Microsoft or Unix installations. Perhaps the RFP states that they don't have an overlying server that houses their users. So now what do you do? Well, the answer is internal users. And you can also have a hybrid setup of synchronized users with internal users. Internal users can be created in several ways. First off, a simple batch import that will get the basic user information into the system. Papercut uses TSV files, or tabs separated. And while you're in Papercut, check out those More Information tabs. They're right there and will bring you to knowledge base articles on proper formatting. Sometimes we need some more information, like passwords for the users. And these are imported with a similar file using a command line import, one of the many server commands available in Papercut. Another thing, check out the knowledge base for other things you can do via server commands. Very powerful stuff. We even support a large university on the West Coast that manages their tens of thousands of users with spreadsheets using server commands. And with on-demand creation, we'll also create a user on the spot. If they print through a queue that Papercut is monitoring, then we capture their usage automatically. Finally, with the intuitive interface in Papercut, it takes all of 30 seconds or less to manually create a user in Papercut. More tips and tricks as you try to figure out how to respond to the RFP. Let's expand a bit on the capabilities of internal users, keeping in mind that bulk user actions can affect any user that's brought into the system, whether they're synced or created in Papercut, with the exception of deleting users. They'll show up on the next sync unless you do that manually. These adjustments fulfill many of the questions that we've seen and are used quickly and effectively in Papercut. Papercut can also be set up so there's a link on the home page for anyone to create their own account, taking the full burden off of IT for the system. Another great response item that will fulfill the requirements of some schools that need an IT hands-off approach to managing the system. Some RFPs that I've gone through want to be able to manage users in groups. Typically the best way to do it because you can affect many users all at once. Groups are automatically brought in by Papercut when using an Active Directory sync. However, if you're importing users, then how do you meet the spec? Easily done. Papercut can pop in another TSV file that you can provide manual groups for the system to use. All you need to do is create the file, drop it in the appropriate directory in Papercut, and the groups are instantly ready to be used. So when you're reading the request from the school, if they have any special needs for handling users manually, know that Papercut provides the capability, so it's another item you can check off on the list. Many schools and universities want to charge for prints or apply them to a department. Well, Papercut is set up for the quota use, best done through groups. So now that we know we can create manual groups if not provided by their directory service, then that makes us golden on this question. While looking at the RFP, you may see that they'd like to have a quota set for a specific department. Papercut can do that too, of course. Using shared accounts with an overall balance easily accomplishes this task. And another item to check off the RFP list. Identity numbers, commonly called PINs in the copier world, can be used for authentication. And there are various methods available to create these numbers, so take a look at the RFP and determine the requirements. Then note that Papercut can meet these requirements. Identity numbers can be synced from a directory service or database. They can be automatically generated by Papercut in an email sent to the user. You can manually input the info, or you can turn on the capability for end users to manage their own identity numbers. With this much variety, you're sure to be able to reply affirmatively to this question. Many RFPs we see now are including mobile options. Most common really are questions revolving around Google Cloud Print, as many educators have been using that platform for some time. Papercut's integration with Google Cloud Print is seamless, so check that one off as a yes, and let's move to iOS. Schools and universities in many locations are all Mac, and they require that mobile solutions be run on Mac hardware. Again, no problem. Our standard iOS integration involves using a Mac Mini to broadcast the cues natively for iOS. There's no need to shout out that we're Apple certified, because we use Apple's hardware, and that's natively supported by Apple and by ACDI. It doesn't get any better than that. WebPrint satisfies the requirements for auditors and others at the school that need to print but are not on the network, so they don't want or need to have a print driver installed. You can just drag and drop your document and print it out and be tracked by Papercut. And since just about every device can email, email to print is available too, and we just print the attachments. No need to print the entire email and waste paper. We're trying to avoid that, remember? Finally, mobility print. What a success story we have had with this innovation that debuted last year, version 17. Schools are loving this, and it just works, of course. If you don't have this running in your showroom, I would strongly advise setting it up. on a single subnet. It takes all of 5 minutes to get it going. Mobility Print provides a self-service way for staff and students to connect any device, a laptop, a Chromebook, iOS, or Android, quickly and easily without support from IT. Simply share the Mobility Print URL, select the device type you want to connect, again, Mac OS, iOS, Windows, Chrome OS, or Android, and you have a video with written instructions and download links when needed. So when the RFP states that mobile printing is a requirement, answer positively with Mobility Print, and you can install Mobility Print on Windows, Mac, or Linux operating systems, so it's completely versatile. Nagios, PRTG, Zabbix. These are many of the network monitoring solutions that educators are using and are requesting integration with a print management system. There are many items available for monitoring as listed here, and we can even monitor RAM or CPU usage of the Papercut server. Add these items to the list, and you'll see that Papercut can satisfy the requirements needed so they can take advantage of their existing systems and incorporate Papercut into their current environment. Many RFPs that we see in education will require payment gateways into existing systems. ACDI's full complement of these systems are too lengthy to put on a slide, and just know that we've already done this, and we're able to assist with your implementation for the school. The list keeps growing too as we integrate into more. So the easiest thing for you to do is to submit a quote to us for the specific software that's needed, and we'll reply with pricing for you so you know what to expect. If we haven't integrated, then we'll discuss the steps needed. This way you'll have an accurate picture of how we do things as you're responding to the RFP. With so many schools, universities, and campus libraries offering 3D printing now, Papercut introduces an option to monitor and track jobs being sent to a print room or a fab lab. Job ticketing. This is the new feature just released in Papercut version 18, and while we haven't been able to do this before, we can now. Schools that have print shops or centralized printing can be set up with a print room that integrates with Papercut for billing and accounting. And we're seeing more and more of this happening in education. Especially a lot of textbooks are not being printed anymore. So you have the need for longer runs. That's increased dramatically. And it takes more time than a teacher has to give. So print rooms are being set up to handle this overflow. Well, now Papercut has a fully integrated job ticketing feature that allows submission electronically and tracks the job through the entire process from creation to final destination. The job ticketing interface is set up like a Kanban board, and operators simply drag and drop a job from one status to another. Automatic emails can be turned on to alert the teachers and staff as to where their job is. When the RFP is calling for an easy-to-use system to track jobs being sent to their print centers and fab labs, then job ticketing is the ticket for that. If you'd like more information about job ticketing, please review last month's webinar of Papercut version 18, Introducing Job Ticketing. It's on the acd-inc.com website under Papercut MF webinars. Most likely you were there to register for this webinar, and all of our previous webinars are posted in the same place for your review. More and more RFPs that are coming in are wanting the software to be able to be customized to look like it's a part of the school. Well, in version 17 last year of Papercut, we came out with many branding capabilities so you're able to easily add logos and colors throughout the software. Reports, user web page, login, and client software can be easily customized to meet the needs of the school. Now, our technical webinars typically discuss software and integrations and things like that, but there can be more to a school's setup. They may have an open library that anyone in the community can use, and they want to be able to track printing and maybe charge for copy. So I wanted to make sure that you knew about ACDI's hardware. It's actually the core of our business. Schools may want to set up to be able to use coins or bills, maybe credit cards, mobile payments, whatever. Papercut is built for this, and with the combination of our hardware offerings, you're sure to be able to meet the requirements of the RFP. Here's some of the choices we have available to incorporate a pay-for-print or copy strategy at a college or university. We have the RSX 1000. It can be configured as a release station with Papercut software. It accepts bills, coins, credit card, even mobile payments. We also have a standalone coin op. It accepts coins or bills, as well as a small credit card mobile phone payment device called the Swiper. When looking at the RFP, do they need this type of capability? Well, we have it, and built by ACDI, so you know it has the quality and performance that you're expecting. Take a look at the RFP, and if you're unsure of the components needed to satisfy the requirements, reach out to your ACDI representative for assistance, because that's what we're here for. Our last point will revolve around support questions that are very typical with RFPs, and there's various means of getting the information needed. Your reply can include the built-in manual or the open knowledge base that does not require logins or accounts to use, very transparent. Have you seen the videos that are available now? The ACDI and Papercut YouTube channels have a wealth of information available. And if they're asking about other types of support, you could include ACDI as a part of your support mechanism. You know, ACDI's support is legendary in the industry. We took the coveted Pinnacle Award from Papercut last year as the top ASC, as well as winning the 2017 Frank Award for Best Software and Services Provider, second year in a row. With our current motto of better than yesterday, we aim not only to continue our award-winning support, but improving it as well. So that'll wrap things up for today. We're going to get to your questions in just a bit, but first, we'll have a trivia question and your chance to win a very cool ACDI t-shirt or polo. So to wrap up the presentation part for today, I'm Doc Balchi, and thank you for joining us with another ACDI webinar.